and welcome to Talk Together. Thank you for joining us for an evening of talking about Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPGs and such in general. I am Natalie. I will be your host for tonight. I will be chatting to the original host of the Talk Togethers, Mr. Multi-Class Monster Creators, David Shears.
Hello.
Claps.
Pleasure.
Claps, applause.
Pleasure to be here. There's so much less pressure in this seat.
It's the same seat, isn't it?
There's a lot less stuff to read out as well. So I'm really looking for your take on the sponsors and supporters. I want to see some gusto.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, being that we are both professional voice actors.
You flatter me.
We've got the, we've got to be able to sell things. So before I mean, there's business. You've thrown me off my track now. I do have a script, and already we're off. So, hello. This is Talk Together, part of Roll Together. I will be asking David questions about his experiences playing TTRPGs and such. And if you've not tuned in to a Talk Together show before now, just so you know how these things work, I'm going to roll one of these. There's a D20, 20-sided dice, and I have a list of questions, and it will tell us which question we're going to ask. Now, David, you have been on here before, so there's a couple I might have to re-roll a couple of times. We'll see.
It's fine. I don't remember what I said last time, so if anyone else does, they watched it far more recently than I have.
Well, I did actually in preparation for this interview. I did going back and watch your.
Goodness me, I'm so sorry.
Before we kick this off properly, if we can get past my rambling, this stream will run for about an hour. We're delighted to be sponsored by Hero Forge, Ultra Pro, and Elderwood Academy, and supported by D&D Beyond, Warriors of Waterdeep, and Level Up Dice. You can find us under Roll Together RPG across a multitude of social media platforms, including Patreon. And hello, welcome to our D20 club. You are all amazing. Hello.
You just went quite Yorkshire then. I liked it. You can find us on Roll Together.
You can find us on Roll Together across multitude of social media platforms. Well, just my generic pan.
We appeal to people of all echelons of the world.
Well, this is my voice acting USP is a bit northern.
Oh, okay.
I'm slightly posh northern, not too regional, but a bit regional to be, appeal to a wide crowd. Is what I make my money doing. So there you go. Our shows are also, if you're interested in the T's and C's, you can find us on a podcast where you can listen to us talk even more without seeing our faces.
Hello, podcast listeners.
There you go. Hello to you, podcast listener.
That's the ASMR version. I'm so sorry. I'll let you get on with your job.
It's fine. Maybe we should do the entire thing just for the podcast listeners like this.
Roll Together after dark.
But if you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube and you wanted to listen on a podcast, it's great for roaming around when you're doing busy tasks around the house or traveling. Just search Roll Together RPG on your favorite podcasting app and you should be able to find us there. And if you can't, let us know. Let's see. So that's the important bits all done. So hello, David, properly. Welcome. How are you today?
Hello. I'm very tired. So consequently, my body is ploughing itself with endorphins. So I feel quite floaty. This is good.
Oh, good.
It means you'll probably get very honest answers to all of these questions. I may not remember what I say after I've said it, but it will be whatever's top of mind at that exact moment. And it's a pleasure to be talking to somebody in a studio, as is my little sound tent. This was my pandemic project, but yes,
nice. Our little cubbies.
There's no excuse for having bad audio.
Absolutely not. I mean, this is completely off topic already. I'm not even going to roll a dice. I'm going to. So you set this up. This is going to be voice actor chat. Sorry, everyone.
That's fine.
You set that up during the pandemic. What have you got? You got some fancy sound blankets there. Is it like piping, or are they attached to the ceiling?
I built it out of PVC pipe. So I drew up a little blueprint and put it together, and got some sound blankets like in front of me, which you can't see. I'm not going to pick up my camera because there's just too many things can go wrong. But yeah, I got all my. People think of it as soundproofing. It isn't soundproofing. It's just designed because I have a lot of reverb. So I've got bass traps the size of my, I don't know, house in the corner there, but it's necessary. But yeah, because nobody could get into studios and things, so everyone had to sort of reinvent themselves and start working from home, which was fine. It's nice to be home all the time, working,
not leaving the house,
listening to myself, saying the same lines over and over again as I try and edit. Yep. Oh, it's such a joy.
Yes, because you do a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah, I started doing audiobooks just before the pandemic. And that was a lot of fun. I just kind of, like most things in life, I just sort of fall into it because I'm outrageously luckier than I have any reason or want to be. But I suppose, you take the most of the opportunities. But yeah, I started recording with a collective who were doing fully voice acted projects of plays and novels and so forth. And that led to something else, and now that's what I do most of the time now. Still the odd commercial and corporate because I like to eat. But no, it's really it's a lot of fun. But that whole process of editing, like I had to learn so much, and I also learned that a lot of people tell me that I have quite a nice voice, and I'm sure you hear the same. But they haven't had to listen to variations on the same line just for hours at a time trying to get it absolutely perfect. It's like the curse of the cliched perfectionist artist, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a director I work with because I also direct as well, but this is specifically about games audio and games voiceover, but applies to anything. I think really there's a magic about the very first take. And if you've got the training and skill and you're in the zone and the mood is right, the first take very often can be the best take. And then you end up going through a dip of overthinking and trying things that don't quite work and getting in your own head until you end up back at another peak again. And that's the kind of the magic spot of rehearsal and technique meets spark and in improvisation and in the moment. But yeah, so very often the first take is actually your best take unless you go,
That's not been true of a lot of my character choices, I'll tell you that much. I've always found number 3 is the one for me.
That's also true.
I've had jobs where I've done one take and they've said, okay, that's great. And I've gone, really? Like, I can do better. You put me for an out. Okay, fine. But actually at some point, again, this is completely off topic. I did actually want to talk to you about video game voiceover because it's fascinating to me. We can have that chat. I mean, we can have that chat on air in front of everyone who is expecting us to talk about D&D, and we'll talk just business next. Well, the voiceover in the Baldur's Gate games was absolutely on point. The guy who voiced Sarabok, my God, what a mellifluous sounding fellow. And,
were you talking the original one?
Oh, the original. Yeah. And
I remember playing that one. It passed me by. Ooh. But I played Neverwinter Nights.
Oh, that's classic.
But not Baldur's Gate. But I have now, because they're all back on Steam and super, super cheap. So it's in my to-do list. Yeah, I mean, that was I'm aging myself now, but I do that pretty much on the regular. My grey hair does it for me as well. But yeah, that was like my first introduction to any kind of role-playing game party-based system. Obviously playing with AI instead of actual friends, because nobody that I knew was into it. But that was so much fun, just the scale of this world, and just thinking, oh my goodness, I can do anything here. It's a similar kind of experience I had when I first started playing World of Warcraft back when that first came out, and that was like goodbye to my third year at university. But that was it's just getting immersed in something, and that's what I love so much about playing D&D, especially with Roll Together, and the fantastic personas that we have, people that can really inhabit their characters, and just allowing yourself to be carried along by that, even if it doesn't always take you in the direction you'd like. This is becoming like the conversation I had with Chris, where like no questions were necessary, but we just sort of rambled on. That's also fine. That's also fine. Well, we have a set list of questions, but people have heard people answer these questions all before, so it's always good to the other things that make people unique and wonderful, bringing those to the table as well. Are important to hear. And I could quite happily nerd out about CRPGs for a very long time.
Dragon Age, man.
So good. Who did you romance in Dragon Age 3? Inquisition.
Well, I different playthroughs.
This is the important question, not like the other choices. Who, like in a BioWare game, who did you romance? That's the question.
Different playthroughs. I mean, obviously, like Solas was a lot of fun. But for me, like I was just disappointed because in Dragon Age Origins, it all have been about Leliana. That was great fun because Morrigan kind of scared me. To be perfectly honest, I was like, oh, what you wanna have a child with me so that a dragon can harvest its soul?
Sounds great. So sounds delightful.
Much the safer option is the bardic assassin. Obviously, that's the way to go. But yes, Solas's betrayal, it hit me hard.
Yeah,
if you haven't played the game yet, that may or may not happen.
Spoilers. I mean, it's all the advertising for the next one is around him so far. So it's kind of spoiled. But
I hope BioWare haven't lost the magic. Because they've brought out some, I'm sorry to say, complete shit that just hasn't been finished. They lost all the Black Archives as well. Yeah,
I do love Dragon Age. I am a Mass Effect gal.
Oh yeah, classics.
Out of the two of them, I will lean Mass Effect. And I know Andromeda got a lot of flack, but I really enjoyed it. But not as it didn't stick with me in the same way that the original trilogy did. And that kind of really came home when I was playing. I played through the Legendary Edition late last year, which was all three remastered, clumped together.
Brilliant.
It's so good. So good. Even with the ending, the Mass Effect 3 ending, blah, 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 it like if 99% of a game is a freaking roller coaster joyride, I don't care about that 1%. Like, just don't do the last 30 seconds, whatever.
It's the Game of Thrones approach. Just imagine the last season never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine. I mean, isn't it great that it ended the way that it did? But that Mass Effect 2, I remember that impossible. There's an impossible mission in Mass Effect 2 where basically it's designed to kill one of your companions for those that that aren't us. And getting through that for the first time, I was just like, it's like I have now peaked. My life is complete.
Did you lose anyone? No, I didn't either. But I got to I did it, and then I read afterwards that it was possible to lose people and had a proper
wow.
But I'd managed to do it without saving everyone. You're
like me. You're a side quest junkie, right?
Oh yeah.
Because if you hadn't done all those side quests, then it was smithereens for your party. But there's a note to everybody: always do the side quest. If a DM is rolling out a nice hook with some bait on it, go for it. What's the worst that could happen? End up having a shopping episode. That's also fun.
So let's bring this back to TTRPGs and D&D. So do you find, because obviously doing roll together streams is different to doing a home game, where it's kind of a home game is more open world, whereas a game for roll together, there's flexibility, but it's kind of, we've got a story to tell in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself wanting to pull at side threads a lot in roll together streams, or do you find that it's all right?
I think the thing is that even in the 12-parters, you're surprised how little time you have. So it can't be quite as rambling. I mean, I look at it like one of my favorite books is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. And there was the author's version, which was this long, rambling, even by his own admission, journey into nothingness. And if you enjoy fantasy on any level, it's a must read. And then there was the original version, which was this sort of more slimmed down, enjoyable, but more focused and nuanced. And I guess, I don't. This is probably a performer thing, but I'm sure other people have it too. You do always have, however invested you are in it, you have this consciousness that it is a show. And it's so a lot of the time it's whilst playing, it's like, okay, well, is this going to be an interesting thing to explore? Do people really want to see two characters talking to each other about nothing of any consequence for half an hour? And the answer may be, sure, if they're great characters, but 9 times out of 10, I try and make my in-game actions in Roll Together like relevant somehow to either bringing in another character or advancing the story in some way or exploring something that's interesting. Like in a home game, I would probably be one of those people that goes around being like, oh, I'm going to do perception checks on everything. And I'm going to distrust this person, and I'm going to try and get the BBEG down by the end of the first hour. It's like, because you could just be a bit more chaotic. Whereas like in this kind of scenario, like I'm much more conscious of serving like the party and serving, like there's a reason I had never played a bard in a Roll Together game, and that's simply because I don't trust myself not to just go off on one and whip out this you probably can't see it because Chris always crops it. But I got a lovely Fender Strat behind me, which at some point I'd love to just plug into my audio interface here and just riff out some bard licks. But I mean, if the demand is for that in the chat, then I guess we can make it happen. But
I mean, I'm sure people are chanting, play that lick. Yeah. Right, I'm sure they are. There's space for that. There's space for that.
Laptops and tablets all over the world are being thrown to the ground.
Why have we not experienced the David Shears concert?
Oh, well, there's a very good reason for that. I'm sure one of several, but nonetheless. But yeah, so that was my long-winded and rambling approach to the question, which I hope I touched on at least in part.
Yeah, no, I think so. Do you? How long have you been playing guitar for?
Oh gosh, 20 years. Like,
nice.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tragic tale. I had aspirations of being a professional musician.
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah, the annoying thing is I probably could have done it because I was playing in a band and stuff that was doing like some of the venues that the Beatles used to play at and things. And I went to Central America, I got Zika virus, and it completely fudged my joints. So now, like, there are some days where I just can't play at all, and there are some days where it's absolutely fine. But obviously, if you're going to do it for a job, you kind of have to be reasonably certain that you can turn up and do it on any given day. It has got a lot better. So now I can just play for pleasure, which is great. But I used to have about, 12 instruments, and like music was my big passion. I have started I can't say I've started. I was invited to join a burgeoning Dungeons and Dragons barbershop group.
Amazing.
So either there's a niche in the market that no one else has ever spotted, or it's a terrible idea, but we won't find out until we do it. So.
Well, exactly. I think there's a huge market for nerdy music. Like bardcore is a big thing on YouTube. So,
Jonathan Coulton was like, obviously did the theme for Portal and Portal 2. And it's a really funny guy. And again, that's aging me slightly because I watched some like old episodes from PAX, I think, old episodes, clips. And he was doing a live set there a couple of times. I listened to this guy and I was like, that's what I'd love to do with my life. Like I'd love to be in like a Flight of the Conchords type thing, or just like a comedy duo. But I've yet to find somebody that can just riff off in the right way and and also that may have had its time, but that would be a dream. A comedy duo, folk rock, Dungeons and Dragons themed band. We could be number one.
I would go to that gig.
Yeah.
I would be there.
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks. Spotify later this month, depending on what happens with Joe Rogan.
We need to go through the list of people in the cast and be like, who else plays instruments?
Do you know what?
Get going.
A Roll Together talent show would either be incredibly cringe-inducing or just hilarious fun.
Also that.
I don't know how drunk you're allowed to be on Twitch though, because I'd have to be. You can't drink on Twitch. I think you're allowed to imbibe apple juice.
But you're allowed to smoke, so.
Yes, tobacco, I think, is acceptable. Yeah. It's a very silly thing to do, though. Don't do it, kids. I just do it because I think it makes me look cool.
Sure. Sure. That's the only reason.
Oh, yeah. The sexual magnetism goes up by a factor of 38 or something. It really does.
It's all the smoke clouding the camera.
Oh yeah, it's quite a nice effect sometimes. This is what my special effects budget extends to these days. Like
I'm on fire.
Can't use After Effects, but yes, if I was ever playing a demon coming out of the gloom, it's like,
yeah,
yes, you must come into the demon's lair. Yeah.
I've got my magical color changing lights, and I keep forgetting to use them on stream.
Where's you got a proper streamer set up.
Where's my sensor? There we go. I can turn things red.
Oh, that's banging.
If I turn this down, I'm all red.
Oh, very nice.
But again, keep forgetting to use it. So it's no use to anyone, really.
I have a close-up option for dramatic moments, which I frequently forget to frame. So it just never quite works. It's like, oh, here's a close-up of my nose. I'm trying to do that classic Western showdown thing, but best laid plans. I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah. But all good comedy content. David, we are 20 minutes in. Guess what? I'm going to roll a dice.
Sure. I mean, yeah. Let's for the sake of the meme, such as it is, get very heavily invested in roll that dice. And grammar died. Excitingly,
I rolled. There's not that many questions on the list that you answered last time, but I rolled 2 of them. But third time's the charm.
Have you realised why at this point? I just don't shut up. That's the problem.
Okay. So third time's the charm, that is a number 4. Do you remember what that means? Do you remember that?
Not a clue.
You mean you haven't memorised it? Shocking. That is, who would you love to have at your gaming table? It's the dinner party question.
Oh, goodness me. One that I actually have to think about. I don't know, the Beatles and Yoko. Yoko can be the DM. I'd be curious to see what kind of rifts. We'd all play bards.
Sure.
Yeah. So we'd start off quite happy. Finding new ways to explore the origins of our bardic detail. Wandering around, becoming hugely successful, and then finding creative differences, a lot of drama, a lot of fractures in the group, and would I hold it together or would I thrive on the chaos? That's something I'd like to find out. Maybe
that's what they were missing all along was a David Shears.
Yeah, and Ringo can have commoner stats because Ringo.
Wow.
Ringo was lovely. Ringo narrated Thomas the Tank Engine when I was a kid.
A legend.
Yeah, this is brilliant, but it's just fun to meme on Ringo, right? It's like he wasn't even the best drummer in the Beatles, but like Paul McCartney was a musical legend, so you can't really. It's like Taylor's a fantastic drummer, but he's not the best drummer in the Foo Fighters because Dave Grohl is another level. And that's fun. I like to play with people who are creative, have clearly defined characters, but also know they can function as a group because. Like we've all played with strong personalities, right? And I probably would say I have a strong personality, and maybe I've matured. I don't know, but it should never be a competition to pull focus. I love when really amazing things happen collaboratively that I couldn't have thought of on my own, and that's why I like sort of devised theatre so much. That's why I prefer working in groups as opposed to alone. Although I definitely have the ego for it. It's just more fun, Other people are cool.
Yeah,
except
absolutely.
When they're scary.
I find that. I love taking if I'm faced with a blank sheet of paper, I cannot function. But taking someone else's idea and riffing on it and tweaking it and perfecting it, that's where that's my creativity sweet spot. So.
Oh, excellent. I think we're very much aligned in that regard. Absolutely. It's having that original focus. It's like when I first started writing, one of the sort of exercises you do is just a free write. You just write down whatever comes into your mind. Then you pick one thing and then you write more focused about that for 5 minutes. And then you have the makings of a story or an idea. And sometimes that's what I do when I'm trying to come up with character concepts, just to flesh them out a bit, because otherwise, we've all had to put characters together in 5 minutes and just be like, oh, I choose trope C for this one. But I think with the first ever game I did for All Together, where Justin was DMing, and he sent through a bunch of questions which I'd never really considered before around characters, like who were your friends, what did you do growing up, what were your hobbies and this kind of thing. And it just really fleshes it out. And improv is great, don't get me wrong, but having that grounding and something that you know is factual about your character, even if it never comes out in the game, which by the way is frustrating as all hell, but it's like, everyone's going to find out my big secret. And thank you for joining us and roll together.
Yeah. But that's also we've got the wiki now, so all of that stuff can go on the wiki, and people can find out. Oh, they did that because of this.
That's true, and people who are putting the wiki together, like, props to you.
Yeah, so cool.
I wouldn't even know where to begin with these things. Although I will factually correct you if you disparage my characters in any way. No, I won't. It's fine. So you won't.
Well, the only way to rectify that, David, is to take control of it and write it in yourself.
Well, I don't work for free.
Fair enough.
Not these days, man. I did my time at the coalface.
We got to that point where just the bitter, jaded arts worker. Been there, done that.
Oh yeah.
That was number 6. So how did you start playing TTRPGs?
Well, that was the question. How did they refer to themselves? Question Supremo, Chris, who I met in their guise as a theatrical PR expert, and they were helping with a show that I was working on, producing, I think. Dear God, why would I ever do that again? I wouldn't. Props to you. It's awful. Yeah. It's like, do you know what I wanted to do today was have a breakdown, but how do I go about it? I know what I'll do. I'll produce a play. And then it's like, theatre doesn't make any money. No. It's a labor of love.
Would quite happily sit and do the spreadsheets and getting people in the room, but the money are awful.
Just no. I need a magic money tree. But lest I digress, Chris found out in the initial conversation that I had a keen interest in D&D but had never played, and invited me to play in one of their home games, which was absolutely batshit. Because it had about 16 players in it, and everyone would roll in week after week. And I'm not saying I haven't quit drinking because I used to consume a massive amount of wine at these sessions, but it was. I'm not saying it wasn't a factor. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So the first time I ever played, they made a pre-made character for me. In terms of the builds and so on, but then the actual characterization of it, I just went to town with, and that was so much fun. And that was, and it was also great to play a character that I would never have built for myself, which was Beishra, the lizard folk druid who had lived on his own in the swamps for so long that he had gone entirely mad and tended to believe everything that he was told. So by the end of it, he thought gold was food.
Nice.
But then he became a Lannister because he would quite literally shit gold. So,
Oh, well, there you go.
Who doesn't want lucky lizard folk around? But yes, it was an interesting thing to see what happens when someone who is of questionable sanity has access to very high level spells. And that was it. That was the bug of playing with people. And these things are like CRPGs. Like, I love them till the cows come home. But when you have a really good group and people like genuinely care about each other and what happens to your characters and so on, and you got to have stakes, obviously. Like, you got to have stakes.
Yeah.
Then
with mushroom sauce and chips.
Yeah. I saw the mods were saying I was salty about the the demise of my character, and I'm like, wouldn't you fucking be? I am not salty. I am a pinch of salt. I am cum grano salis.
Well, let's talk about Sir Thorvald. Thorvald.
Well, I mean, everybody just had their own go at it. Technically, I think it should be Thorvald, but whatever.
There you go.
I love Vikings.
So, but he is not the first character you've had die. because you talked about a different character.
Oh yeah, I've had characters die before.
Yeah.
Although when characters have died before, then I could just go and make myself a pizza and sort of sit there having a beer and writing up a new character. Whereas it's just quite awkward when you're on camera and you're like, okay, what do I
dead now?
Do I still participate? Do I not? I don't know what to do. You just sit there like, all right, I'm going to look up the Byzantine Empire on Wikipedia. And it's like, it's fine. Like, I have no problem with character death, like whatsoever. It's just like an unfortunate reality of the fact that when you're on stream recording with a bunch of people and your characters died, there's not a lot you can do. And I'll be honest with people about that. Like it was a frustrating experience, but not because I thought like this shouldn't have happened, because I cared about my character. Mm-hmm. And therefore that was the key to the frustration. Do you know what I mean? Like I thought it was a good story beat. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Sorry, my throat's very gravelly at the moment.
Almost like you've been smoking or something.
Yeah, do you know what it is? Like I used to have a range up to a high C, and I think it's now somewhere around an A. But that's fine because my base range is a lot deeper. So the advantages of smoking, everybody.
Don't do it, kids.
No, don't do it. It's silly. It's a silly thing to do. But yeah, so that tangentially. Although Thorvald was interesting. Thorvald was an experiment. Because I really like the concept that, M came up with for the game and the world and the setting in terms of like being out of time and so on. I had an idea for the character, which was around the concept of I wanted to make a character who was really good at grappling, which in my head was quite cool. It turns out that it wasn't something I particularly enjoyed, having built everything towards this one goal. Like, if you want to do that, play a rogue. Just sneak attack. And it was like what I imagined was having this half giant who could make himself immensely huge and fly things up into the air and then drop them, and they would go poo on the ground, which would be really fun. Or throw my my party members at things.
Yeah.
As a sort of that's the old polymorph wheeze, which I still want to do at some point, which is just have a pet rat and throw it at somebody, and while it's midair, polymorph it into a whale. So just
nice.
That has to happen. So I don't think I ever really inhabited Thorvald as much as some other characters that I played. Like I found it easy to do the game and the setting and so on, because everybody else was so good. So there was a lot of stuff there to riff off. But it's like sometimes when you're playing a part, you just get it and it becomes a part of you and you understand it. Whereas I think by going against my usual process and starting with the mechanics and then trying to build the character around it, I just threw myself off a little bit along the way. So I hope people still enjoyed watching it.
I mean, you say all of that in a negative way. You still had some really lovely moments of roleplay.
Yeah. I mean, that was the best part of it. Any part of it that was actually the character, and not mechanically based, I felt much more grounded and much more able to interact with people. Like I had a lovely moment with Tom's character with the whole almost drowning in the lake scenario. And I loved, by the way, the pickup, the callback to that later on, where you were like, I've made friends with Tine and I've made friends with Zeleny. So if either of them stay princess, whichever way it goes, I'm in their good books. And they were like, we've been played. I think I just find it hard to play nice people, like because I'm not one. And it's like, well, I mean, nice is pretty boring, isn't it? I'm not saying go out there and be a bastard to people. I'm just saying, like, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of edge.
True.
So I like that. So I felt like there just wasn't that much to him, and he was just a very simple, obviously had a tortured backstory because how can you not?
Of course, yeah.
Everyone's got to edgelord slightly, right? But Yeah, just having that ideal of just trying to be the gel that thinks the best of everybody, and trying to G people up and so on. That was an interesting thing to play for me, and I really did enjoy the group dynamic and the social interactions and so on. I just kind of wish I built him slightly differently, because every time I was going into a situation, it was like, yeah, to an extent, what my character would do, but it was also like, well, I want to do this thing that I've built him to do, even though it's not necessarily the right call in this moment. And it's like, it's a learning experience for me.
Do you think it's to do with the rules not quite functioning in the way that you imagined it, or do you think it's to do with that build, not the character, but that build, that stat block would have worked better in a slightly different, maybe more murder hobo campaign?
No, I don't think it was murder hobo-y. I think, and it wasn't like, it's not a fault of the campaign at all. I thought the campaign was brilliant. I thought the way it was put together was brilliant. It was more just that the chips didn't fall that way. There wasn't the opportunity to do that moment of epicness, and I like Eldritch Knights, but I think they work, in my view, they function best when you build them as just tanky tank. And yes, Tasha's brought in the whole kind of unarmed skill and things, but that doesn't synergize particularly with a lot of other stuff. So I think I was kind of just irked at myself for having built something that was quite suboptimal from a rules perspective. Even though M did give me quite a lot of leeway to make him slightly less inefficient than he would have been. So I think because of my own rampant perfectionism, there was that I didn't quite connect with him as much as I have with Aldrin and with other characters I've played. Like Aldrin was just, I could play him all year. Do you know what I mean? I'd like him to have his own spin-off series of books, the Adventures of Aldrin.
I could very easily see that.
And there are some so many brilliant characters that people have brought to games that I've played in and to the campaigns that we've seen here on Roll Together. That some of them are just not going to be quite up to that tier. It doesn't mean it was bad. It doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. It's just like when you've had that golden experience, then when something doesn't quite measure up to that level, in terms of me connecting with the character, then that's always gonna just weigh on you subconsciously slightly. Like, it didn't stop me having fun. It's just like vanilla ice cream is great, but pistachio is my favorite, and Aldrin was pistachio.
Really? Interesting.
There you go. Yeah.
Well,
what's your favorite ice cream, chat?
I'm very much a salted caramel. If we're going basic flavors, like ideally it's a Ben & Jerry's, many different flavors and chunks of cake in there as well, and caramel sauce situation.
Hey, I remember caramel before it was salted.
Those were the days.
I used to drink toffee and put it in the kettle.
I remember the days when you had toffee and it'd last you all day, and that was seen as appropriate.
You a dessert person?
I'm very much a dessert person.
What's your favorite dessert?
Oh no, that's
we're gonna prompt some controversy in the chat right now. I like it.
Now then, I can't believe you've hit me with this on the fly, David. Out of nowhere, sideswiped.
I will help you with this visualization. Okay, you're sat at a restaurant.
Yep.
You've just enjoyed an excellent starter and an excellent main.
Yep.
The dessert that you've ordered is being brought over under one of those silver platters.
Yep.
It's put down in front of you, and the server lifts off the lid, and what do you see?
It's probably a trio.
There you go. There you go. The little mini ones.
It's probably like a melt in the middle chocolate thing.
Nice.
And some kind of lemon tort or lemon cheesecake. Like lemon tort and then like a raspberry cheesecake. No, like an apple crumble-y thing. Like all of them.
The contrasting flavors, yeah. That's the gourmet option.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty boring in that if it's ever on the menu, I will always have tiramisu. I like to think that I will try at some point every tiramisu anywhere ever, and I'll be able to finally judge which is the best. Don't get me wrong.
It's good to have goals.
It's quite a simple thing. It's just it's something that brings me joy, you know.
And I love that for you. I dislike coffee. So it's not my job. However, we did went to Rome a couple of years ago, and we managed to find a tiramisu place that did, and it was just this tiny little like on the corner, and you did like little takeaway pots of tiramisu, like this big, like you get a little mini ice cream tub, and it was so good. And they had cream based ones instead of coffee based ones, so it was just like cream and fruit and liqueur, and it was so good.
Double mascarpone.
Yeah, nom. Good. Well, now that we've settled that very important situation, who's the best villain? That's number 18. Sorry for the editors throwing that dice. Who's the best villain you've ever faced in a game?
Well, I have a suspicion that the leader of the Modrons, whomsoever or whatsoever they may be, was gearing up to be quite the challenge. Like, it was very unlikely we would ever make it to that point in a 4-parter, but if that is explored in the future, I have very high hopes.
Definitely seeds been planted.
I have very high hopes that they will be a villain of some renown. In terms of so I loved Le Douche, as they were named, because they were just like so supremely an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, I love villains with a bit of nuance. I love villains who believe they aren't villains, but there's also something very joyous about just going all in on the douchery. The first game I played, I really enjoyed, although probably not the villain, but the dragon who was just sort of tired of life, brought to life supremely by the very talented Justin, and I just love that. And you think, so often I think DMs have these wonderful ideas that us as players, me as a player, I would never want to put myself in that chair, but I respect those that do. I'm sure I've seen you mention like, I should look at the DM's guide. Yeah, I've looked at it. I know the rules.
So you can exploit them.
Yeah, I mean, no. So you can use them cleverly.
Sure.
Like, and obviously so much is rules work up to a certain point, and some rules are broken because it just doesn't work. Like intimidation being tied to charisma. I will fight. I will die on that bridge, right? This is always an optional rule that if you're using strength to show to intimidate, and it's like, so I have to go around with like blocks of wood to snap every time I want to do a thing. It's like, no, it just doesn't work. And obviously, I get it, because you want the charisma characters to do the charisma thing. But I just think intimidation should be tied to something else.
Because you can quite easily have like very uncharismatic, does not speak, does not kind of emote or project very well, like big ogre sat at the back, all tall and muscles, just kind of glowering. Highly intimidating.
Rude.
But not charismatic.
Yeah, and I guess there's ways around that. You can be like, you give somebody advantage, or you do the help action and so on. But it's like, there's still, I think 5th edition is brilliant, but there's still areas for nuance, I think. Although nothing's ever going to perfectly match the or mirror like real life and the real social intricacies that you have within a group dynamic. But I do think it comes pretty close. And I think as well, the fact that so much is at a DM's discretion, that if you have a good DM, then a lot of this stuff you can kind of there's an allowance for it if it makes sense within the story.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like the 2-foot tall gnome who struggles to lift a pin, like going up and being like, I'm going to intimidate. And then obviously like charisma isn't just about being good looking. Charisma is about making impression. Like the Hound in Game of Thrones, very charismatic. But if you were going to build the Hound as a D&D character and you put points in charisma, I would consider your sanity. Like, so it's like, you know, there must be a way to be able to put that kind of build together. And I think it probably comes down to looking at exactly what skills are linked to what stats and how that fits for a particular character. Although obviously in terms of balancing the game, that would be very difficult to do. But if you know what the characters are in your party, then I think it's something that could be looked at in a session 0, just as a way of making sure that everybody's fulfilling the role that makes sense. You know, obviously, I want to stress this. There's a bard in the party. I'm not going to be going up persuading people. Like there was times with Aldrin. Aldrin had a higher persuasion score and stealth score than anybody else. Because I rolled supremely luckily and I chose feats that basically made him into a monster. But they worked because it was all tied to the story. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be like, oh, well, actually, I think you'll find that my bonus is +1 more than yours, bard. So I'm going to go do all of that. It's like, no. You do your thing as a character.
Yeah.
But then if I've built a massive hench warrior, I want to start intimidating people. Yeah, I'm not going to persuade anybody to go to the barn dance with me, but I maybe am going to persuade them to give them my lunch money. And it's like, you know.
I mean, look, there's interest in all sorts, David. Don't count your muscle guy out. I'm sure plenty of people want to go to a barn dance with him. It's the boots. That's what it is. Yeah. It's the boots. I mean, if we're talking specifically of Sir Thorvald, then, you know, there was that, I wouldn't even call it flirtation, but there was definite homoerotic energy between him and Liz's character, which I loved. I was definitely here for. Oh yeah, I mean, you what is a story without a little undertone of homoerotica, right? Well, exactly. I feel like there's the moment where Thorvald sat on Sir Griffon's back, and it just feels like it's made for the cover of one of those like trashy 80s romance novels that's all like windswept, and like nothing could happen between them in the entire thing, but that's just the cover image right there. Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think this is why so much horse porn was creeping into the subconscious of the group talk together. It was that everybody had been subliminally affected by the sheer chemistry. Moved. So Grifphon and Thorvald. It's the romance we never knew we needed. Exactly. Now, can we live without it? You know, the curiosity alone would. Why leave that stone unturned? Exactly. Yeah, the sequel one shot coming soon. I don't know who would dare take on the Valentine's Day one shot. Yeah, you've DM'd, haven't you? Very briefly, yeah. I'm a newbie DM, a baby DM. But you've been in. Have you ever been in games where like players are just really getting into the romance, and their characters are just properly like romancing each other? Like not to that level. Yeah, I sort of wonder at what point that becomes uncomfortable and how I would deal with that if I was a DM. Because I think there was like one game that I played in, there was a lot of shall we say to liaisons going on through the group that I was completely oblivious to, because I never noticed any of this shit. I'm just like, I want to roll the dice and I want to hit the dragon, and the dragon killed me because I'm level 3. But I do sort of wonder like what about people's personalities, because there must be a reason why a lot of the characters that I build have certain similarities in other people. So perhaps one day I'll actually get around to doing a PhD thesis on the psychology of Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe. But, you'd have to ask Chris, I guess. I mean, the DMing Warriors of Waterdeep. Spoilers for if you've not watched it. I mean, my character is literally romancing Chris's partner's character. So I don't. I've never actually sat down and been like, how do you feel about this, Chris? They've not had issues so far, but yeah, I mean, Thomas and Shivarth, it's not particularly deep, dark, racy. Is it sort of Twilight-esque? PG-13. It's very well. I mean, it's a sponsored stream, so it's there's a there's levels.
It's wholesome.
It's wholesome. It's wholesome.
It's the sort of, it's a Disney romance.
Yeah, I mean, there's an edge to. I mean, I don't know at which point this is going to come out. This talk together, or it's going to come out this week that we're recording, or
we'll cut it.
Or next, but
if we haven't got to that point, we'll cut it.
No. I mean, in the first episode, a little more happens, but it's it's all very behind closed doors.
Well, lines and veils.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you'd like to know more about lines and veils, you can
check out our safety
exclamation
toolkit, which
mark
is in the
safety. I don't know, the mods will link
something like that.
Yeah,
go mods.
It is very useful stuff though, and it's like session zeros when you establish these kind of things. I've never romanced anyone in a game because I'd be terrified that it would be misconstrued as something I was doing, and that's probably a reflection on me, and just by general, because I'm a really shy person. I'm really nervous talking to people, so I think like where there's any chance that a kind of boundary might be crossed, because also like I don't know if it's related to my bipolar, but I don't really understand tact, so I kind of have to guess or extrapolate like whether something is appropriate to say. So a lot of the time now I verge on the side of caution, because I'm just like, well, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to take the risk, but it would be nice. It would be nice to have a wholesome romance in a D&D game, because it'd be nice just to feel
on
like
our Pip and Ogden level.
Yeah, or like a Pippin and Merry level. Like just that feeling that you're invested in somebody, like on an emotional level rather than like a sexual one.
Yeah,
because I just think it's really interesting to have that to play for. Like, what would I then now do if somebody that I really care about is in a position and it alters the decisions that you'd make? I think that's great. In a way that just isn't always there for like, you are traveling together, you met at the tavern. Yeah. A blind orc tells you to go and find his golden monocle. And it's like, think of reasons why you know each other. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. But I guess, God, I don't stop talking, do I? Bloody hell.
I love that this question started out with who's the best villain you've ever faced in game.
I did warn you. Sorry, chat. I'm just rambling on.
I feel like this has brought us to. I feel like a challenge maybe for you in creating. I mean, you've done the multi-class monsters, the mid-maxed ridiculous characters. You've done a character where you had a concept, and it didn't quite work out, but it was still fun to roleplay. Maybe one of the next characters in your roster, your Rolodex of characters that you play. Challenge yourself to create one where not like going into the game with like I'm gonna romance someone, but going in with the happy, wholesome character.
Yeah, I just never build sexy characters, I guess. Like Aldrin.
Thomas did not start out as a sexy character. He's a little bumbly country boy.
That's true. I mean, to be fair, like this the episodic style of the WOW streams, like you do have that opportunity to explore things, which is nice. Yeah. I think what you're doing with them is great, by the way, and obviously the sponsors are pleased because you're still making them. Thank you, sponsors. And it's
Thanks,
a fun,
Ludia.
It's a fun game. I'm not very good at it, but it's a fun game. People just meet me online. They're like, "Aha, easy points."
Excellent.
Yes. Or are they? But no, like I totally agree. I think it would be interesting to kind of explore other aspects of my personality in it. Like, it never came out in game, but Aldrin was a gay character. Like, I tend to make all of my characters queer, because that's just fun to explore. And I also I also think I don't like shutting things off from like any kind of experience, because that's me in real life, I guess. I like to meet people and try things and learn stuff. Like I'm a knowledge addict. So I like characters that are curious about the world. And I think that's it, because I like characters that are driven to know something or find something out. And I think, yeah, Thorvald to an extent had that with the why have we come forward in the past, but there wasn't that drive for knowledge. It was a much more relaxed character, which was great. But I feel like it was just slightly out of sync with, like, if I'm an A minor, Thorvald was a B flat. it wasn't quite
bit of discordancy there.
Yeah. Don't play an A minor and a B flat at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
I think we've got time for one more question. Given how the last ones went, I'm not sure.
I can be brief.
But I'm going to roll the dice one more time. Let's see where we end up. 13. Oh, this could be quite a short one. What did dice mean to you?
Well, my very first dice set.
Yes.
They adopted me when I was in the snow.
Beautiful.
I just killed a wolf. And they said, Leonidas, you will be king.
So beautiful.
I mean, that was acting.
No.
No, I know. It wasn't very good acting, but I told you I was tired. What dice mean to me? I mean, I have two blooming much of them, but they mean a lot less to me now because D&D Beyond exists. If I was playing in a room with people again, then yeah, I would want to bring my own set because that's a lot of fun. But I also like the fact that when we're playing digitally, Beyond keeps me honest. I've never knowingly fudged a roll, but I don't want to be tempted to either. And if the DM can see what I rolled, then that's that. I'm not saying that the circumstances would never arise, but dice are so pretty, and I can see how people can spend a lot of their hard-earned doubloons on them. And perhaps at some point I'll be so fabulously wealthy that I can get a set made out of onyx or something. I don't know.
Do you prefer metal to plastic?
In theory, yes. But I would need something that could withstand, for example, the table shakers. I think in the case of this little desk could be table breakers. So it's like, deal with what you got. So I got some very nice little sticky ones. They're just fun to kind of roll around in my hand, but they don't always favor me. Dice jail. Yeah. That's all I can say. Beyond needs to introduce a dice jail. I
think it does. Yeah, I've had quite a few sessions where Beyond has betrayed me. Right, I think that is pretty much what we've got time for anyway.
I hope so. I don't got any more left in me.
It's you to sleep and food and whatever else.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for anyone that's just endured watching this. Dear God, I hope you had some good food or nice orange juice, because bloody hell, that was only fun for me.
I had a lovely time. How dare you?
I'm so happy. Thank you. You genuinely made me smile.
Good. Do you have anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah. I mean, the usual. Go on to Audible. Put my name in as David Shears. Listen to some of the audiobooks if you like them. Get them. If you don't like them, send me a request. Happy to do a commission. Sort something out. And look out for the 4 levels, the Dungeons and Dragons barbershop group coming to a town near you.
Is that the name? Is that an exclusive reveal?
It's a working title. I mean, it took the 4 seasons a long time to come up with theirs, but yeah, it's what it's early days. But it's it's going to be a barrel of fun. Who knows? Maybe we can go to Edinburgh and lose all our money.
That would be exciting. Well, I'm sure if it does get a going, then our socials will retweet and share, and probably not Instagram.
Yeah, we got to
definitely not on TikTok.
We got to move in the same circles now, because you'll know people that I know, and I'll know people that you know, and it really, we'll become fast friends now. We'll talk about the time that you interviewed me, and it looked like I was on some sort of shrooms. I was that tired. And that'll be the story that we tell about how we met. Yeah. Firm the friends.
The classic time when I first met David.
Yeah. You can tell when you're going to get on with someone, can't you? Usually within the first minute. And the fact that, admittedly, you didn't have a choice, but the fact that you've tolerated me so well, it's a good sign.
Chained to my desk here.
Well, anyway.
Thank you everyone else for joining. I mean, this has been a lovely chat. The other people have been here as well. Hey, chat. Thank you for joining us and being part of this. It was Talk Together. It runs this time now, Fridays from 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. GMT, and other times in other time zones are available. We stream D&D games if you want to see us actually play and roll dice more frequently. We stream those on Mondays and Tuesdays, 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. GMT. Now, on Monday slot at the moment, we've currently got alternating shows. We've got a Shadowfell Symphony, which is Liz's Allbard Chaos campaign, which is just wonderful. And we've got Into the Sunset, alternating with that, which is an episodic series DM'd by the Noir Enigma. And that's like a series of, you see the party in one, and then they've leveled up, and it's a different time. It's episodic stuff, which is marvelous. These are both awesome shows. Watch those. Tuesdays, we're back to streaming Warriors of Waterdeep. Woo! So come and join us and find out how our heroes are coping as we traverse the Underdark. It's awful here. All of our shows stream at twitch.tv/rolltogetherrpg, and the VODs are available immediately after the stream to catch up, or you can find all of our content on YouTube a few days later. And don't forget, you can also enjoy them as a podcast. Hello, podcast listeners. I'm really sorry I did a P-pop plosive there. That's awful. Words like voice actors, the first thing you do, don't do plosives.
I'm going to throw you out of the class.
I know. Have my license revoked. Many thanks again to our D20 Club on Patreon. These awesome people that have that are supporting us, helping us do shows like this. They've done wiki for us, and there's a fan Discord as well. So if you want to come join us on that, please do. And if you would like to also be as cool as all of the D20 Club members, you can do so from as little as one of your local currencies per month. So thank you again to all of our sponsors and supporters. And David, your catchphrase, would you like to say it?
Oh, yes, indeed. Stay classy at the table.
Oh, shivers.